Welcome to another podcast from Agile Technology. Today we're fortunate enough to be joined by Hanne Kristensen. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, nice to see you, and thank you for agreeing to be on our podcast today. You're all the way from Norway, and you're running a very interesting organization. So I suppose the question for me is, what originally drew you to the life science field, and how did your path lead you to the life science cluster?
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to join you on this podcast. I have looked forward to this. I would say that my path towards this field at all started with my grandma getting cancer. And I was 16 at the time, and in a time in your life when you need to decide what to do. And when she died of cancer, I figured I wanted to be one of those people developing new solutions. I didn't really have to be the professor, but I really wanted to be one of those making sure things got to the market as new medicines for patients. And that's actually formed a lot of my career since then. So I have a degree in biochemistry and immunology. I planned on taking a PhD, but ended up being the first employee of a new company instead. I have been CEO of 3 companies, being part of starting a 4th. And now I am in a cluster. And my motivation is to be able to support more than one company at a time with some of those experiences, knowledges, networks, etc., that you build through industrial careers.
Okay, so you wear many hats. You wear the VP of Business Development, Investor Relations, and Collaboration. What does a typical day look like for you?
In the life science cluster, we have 120 members, and we are a national cluster, a non-for-profit organization. So in this role, I'm working between the different kinds of members. So we have both universities, hospitals, large companies, growth companies, startups, investors, specialists, etc. So in this role and in the cluster, a part of the work is making people collaborate more, seeing how to share knowledge, share insights, and also making sure that the startup companies and the growing companies are as good equipped as they can be to take on the tasks that are in front of them. And some of the thinking is that even world champions have coaches. So understanding what people need in the different stages of development, and from our side, supporting them as good as we can in becoming the best version of themselves.
Well, that's a very nice story. I love that. So what kind of collaboration or success story has emerged from the life science cluster that you're particularly proud of?
I would say that through the 6 years that I have been in the cluster, first of all, on the national level in Norway, we have spent quite a decent amount of money, I would say, on science, on research. We have excellent scientific publications in peer-reviewed journals, etc. We are not that all good at patenting. We are not all that good at starting companies. We are not all that good at investing, etc. So we see that there's kind of a gold mine of untapped opportunity in the Norwegian ecosystem. And that is what really inspired me to bring my background and knowledge into this playing field. So being part of building a collaborative ecosystem is definitely something we are proud of. Being part of building a portfolio of now 50 investable stage company or more out of the 120 members, and putting them in contact with collaboration partners, investors, etc., or supporting them in getting the right contacts is a better way of saying it.
Is there strong government or policy support for life science innovation in Norway?
That's a very good question. So today I can say yes. as long as up to last year, the question would almost have been no. So we have spent a lot of public money on science, which is excellent, but we haven't put that much emphasis on the industrial opportunities, and we haven't really understood what we have either. So we have a few fabulous storylines from the ecosystem with GE Healthcare, previously Nycomed, making contrast agents for the international market. So the raw materials are made in Norway and also part of the finished product. So every second, 3 patients get contrast agents from Norway. So that's quite impressive.
Are you seeing more international interest in Norwegian life science companies from investors and big pharma and healthcare systems?
Yes, definitely, I would say so. So just from my personal experience and my personal story also, the life science cluster, we are located in Oslo Science Park, which is just between the university and the National Hospital, and with a lot of industry collaborations also. And when this building was established, that was kind of unheard of, this industry, academia, hospital connection. So from our side also, being part of making these connections is something that inspires us every day.
So what advice would you give to international innovators or medtech, biotech startups who want to engage with Norwegian ecosystems?
We see that just from 10, 20 years back, the pipeline of opportunities were a lot smaller than it is today. So in the Norwegian national clusters, we are 3 clusters, one specialized on oncology, one on health tech, and us on life science. And we see that we have different niches, but together we have more than 530 members combined. So reaching out to one of the clusters, and we would utilize our jointly developed methodology on putting an investor, business, a pharma company or similar in contact with a relevant pipeline of opportunities. And then we are also connecting to incubators, to tech transfer organizations, to academic projects, etc., depending on the areas of interest.
So what trends are you seeing in investment interest across Norway's health tech innovation landscape? Is it diagnostic? Is it digital? Is it therapeutics, pharma? What's attracting the most attention right now?
The largest attention and the largest amounts of money traditionally and still goes to the drug, the pharma biotech side. But we also do see more and more specialized pipeline of investors targeting more on the diagnostic laboratory tech and med tech sides, and also specialized investors looking at the digital landscape. I think it's interesting to see that there are consortia of investors that are forming across the Nordics also, because only the Norwegian portfolio would be too small. But that they are really looking at how they can combine forces to build a good pipeline of Nordic opportunities and invest in a good pipeline of Nordic opportunities.
Absolutely. So what are the biggest challenges Norwegian companies face when scaling or seeking investment?
You have the traditional valley of death as kind of a challenge, where you come from a tradition or ownership in the academic field. You have a tech transfer organization that is supporting you moving forward. You get public funding for research, both on the academic and on the industrial side. But at a certain level, you kind of need to have validating capital that really believes in the value proposition you're bringing. And the stepping stones or the next step in this ladder has been kind of very high in some of the transition points. So we have seen that there haven't been much capital in Norway. And when I was in my first companies and we went out seeking capital, it wasn't capital in Norway. So we had to go to the Nordics and abroad. And their first question was, which investors do you have from home?
Yes.
And then it's kind of this catch-22 situation. It's definitely improving. We are getting more investors in both in different fields and also in different stages. And we have Hadean Ventures as one, as a European venture fund, headquartered in Oslo. So that's the first one that's kind of also building out the landscape of players and adding to the next kind of steps in the ladder before you get to the larger international capital.
So from your perspective, having done the work you've done and the work you're doing, what advice would you give to a young scientist or an innovator entering the life science sector today, particularly from Norway?
I would say to engage in the ecosystem. That's an excellent opportunity. We have really good tech transfer offices who have been doing the transition from an academic project to a company numerous times. They have good connections and excellent knowledge in different fields. There's an excellent chain of incubators ranging from health tech to drugs, diagnostics, and also over to the bioindustrials, which is also an area that we are covering. And also the industry clusters that are specialized and have international networks that are working with capital and can support you in developing further.
Okay, so how does your organization position itself in policy conversations in Norway or across the Scandinavian countries or across Europe? How do you exactly, I suppose, are you actively working to shape the regulatory or the innovation frameworks in Norway?
Yes. So what I was speaking about now was the thing we're doing for more of the startup development stage companies. The life science cluster is also working on the policy side. So from our perspective on policies, we are working both jointly with other clusters and players in Norway on the policy side for ensuring that the life science and health areas are seen as an opportunity and also developed as an opportunity. And we're also working on the Nordic level together with sister organizations in the Nordics to make sure that we can leverage the Nordic opportunities in the best possible way. And we're also looking a lot at the strategies that have been developed by, for instance, Denmark and Sweden. They are now on their second or third version of national life science strategies, whereas we are almost at our first step now with the export strategy for health and life science.
Okay. So that is interesting. I think that for me, what role do patients and citizens' voices play in shaping innovation within the life science cluster ecosystem? Are you seeing more patient-centered models of development?
Yes, I would definitely say so. So by combining the different technology opportunities that we have now, you see that also the large pharmaceutical companies are moving. They're still developing the traditional drugs, the traditional diagnostics, etc. But with the digital opportunities that are coming, also in communicating with patients during development, during administering of medicines, this also changes the landscape. So we see that the companies are more and more interested in how different technologies can be combined also in connection with the therapeutic, the traditional therapeutic way of treating a disease.
Now, Hanne, if somebody from overseas wants to engage with your organization, it's very simple for them to do it, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. So this is core to what we are doing. And if we see that someone from overseas are connecting to us We are focusing on life science or drugs, diagnostics, lab-related technologies, bioindustrials, also digital related to this. But if we see if someone is coming wanting to do something on med tech, for instance, we would also then channel them to our sister cluster, who is a specialist on this, and they have the right channels, the right networks, etc., for that technology area. So we see that by having this ecosystem collaboration as well, we can support where we are good, and we can funnel requests to those that are experts on areas that we don't sit on the expertise.
It's fascinating. I think for me, your skill set, your expertise lies in navigating the intersection of science, policy, and business. You've been helping companies scale their impact through collaboration, capital, and cross-sector engagement. You've been doing that for quite a long time, and you're very good at it. And I think that you're a real asset to the organization and to Norway as a whole. I think you're known for your energy and your insights and the systems level thinking that you're capable of. I mean, you're obviously a passionate advocate for innovation that benefits patients and the public. What would be some of the highlights of your career, would you say, and the things that you've surprisingly learned over your career?
First of all, thank you for the very kind words. I would say that my motivation comes from, as I told you earlier, also this personal experience of disease in the family, and I really wanted to contribute and make a difference. The interesting thing is to see that when you are doing this in collaboration with others, combining strengths and knowledge and insights, the results become so much better.
Hanne, could you give me a real-world example of what you're doing currently?
Now, we have a few real-world examples that I could give you of current work. And one that I would really like to emphasize is our EU-funded project called Life Science Academy for Startups. We are 10 Nordic organizations collaborating, and it ranges from clusters like ourselves to incubators, universities, and other players. And what we are doing is really benchmarking the way we are working with the early stage companies, looking at how we can support them with insight about themselves before we start educating them. And it has been really interesting to see how the initial conversations that we are doing, how we can model this in a way that not only gives us insight about them, but really gives themselves insight about themselves. So we have been using the KTH technology readiness scale. It's a really, really nice tool, but it's also not specifically developed for life science. So what we have done is to add two dimensions to it. Regulatory is one of them, and also modifying the description in the 1 to 9 levels on each of these 8 factors. So when you're summarizing this for a company, they are, after a 2-hour interview, really structured the insight they have about themselves and the readiness on the different scales. And that really gives a good basis for continued discussions about their needs and how to support them.
Okay, so have you got any real-world examples of companies that you're working with or who are in the cluster?
Yes, we have a few very exciting companies in the cluster. So one of them is Kaluna, previously Arx Therapeutics. They started out with 2 persons from the ecosystem. They had previously been working in a large pharma company. So they brought their experience into a startup. Within the first year, they had attracted about 10 million euros in investments, which is unprecedented in Norway for this kind of a company. And last year, they attracted 86 million euros from Forbion and others, and merged with a Dutch company to form Kaluna. And they're working with fibrotic diseases, and we also see a pipeline of other technologies or companies coming out of the ecosystem here within the same area.
That's very exciting news. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you for sharing that. Hanne, could you tell me a little bit about the investor seminar that's coming up, please?
Yes, of course. We have now for the 6th time our Norwegian Investor Life Science Partnering Day. And we have developed this conference into something that fills a hole in the ecosystem of investor conferences. There haven't really been this kind of investor conferences in Norway before. And it's also created in size to complement the international conferences that many of our companies go to. So we have approximately 130 participants, a very nice mix of international and Norwegian investors and Norwegian life science and health tech companies. And we see that because it's so small in size, it really makes good connections, good conversations, and lasting new business relationships, exactly.
Absolutely. And when is that particular event?
It's April 24th.
Hanne, could you tell me something about the investor methodology technique that you've developed jointly?
Yes, I can do that. The Life Science Cluster has, for the last 2 years, been leading a joint collaborative project where we, Norway Health Tech, Oslo Cancer Cluster, and Biotech North have been collaborating. Also Norwegian Smart Care Cluster, who are now part of Norway Health Tech. So these are the large Norwegian clusters. And what we have been doing is when we receive an investor to the ecosystem, there could be an investor interested, for instance, in drugs and digital. And we see that it doesn't really make sense if I receive this investor, I would keep it to myself and to our members, because the investor, they are really looking at the top level candidates. And the more of the Norwegian portfolio we can present for them, the larger the opportunity of actually having an investment in the Norwegian portfolio. So we have been really collaborating how to prepare our business cases, how to present the portfolio, how to make sure that each single investor who comes actually gets an overview of those business cases that are of interest for them.
Okay.
And we have received extremely positive feedback from the investors that have been through this methodology or way of working.
That's fantastic. I wasn't aware of that. That's a wonderful situation. Well, you've done a great deal of work, and congratulations on what you're achieving and what you've achieved. I think what you've done is remarkable, and I think you're quite a remarkable person. So thank you for your time today, and I'd like to wish you all the very best in the future. I'd like to talk to you again maybe in 6 months and see what else is going on.
Thank you so much, and thank you for a very nice conversation.